Hello all, my name is Henry and I recently graduated college for graphic design. While I am waiting and applying for jobs, I took up a job that was advertised in our local grocery store for an overnight security guard at a private cemetery near the town's border. I called the number, spoke with a woman who gave me very brief details. What took me by surprise was the pay, $30 an hour for a 10-hour shift. At this point in my life, I needed the cash to scrape by before I landed something in my field. The woman told me to be there by 7 p.m., where my 10-hour shift would start at. I pulled into the cemetery, which was about a 25-minute drive from my house, through a narrow dirt road. The outskirts of town were less developed than where my house was. The trees were thick and dense. It darkened quick here. Further down the road, narrowly avoiding potholes, I approached a rusty old gate, covered in hanging moss. I drove through the open gate, going deeper into the wooded area, darkness circling in on me. The graves began to pop up one by one, big ones, tall ones, broken ones. They littered the open field where I could see as far in as the trees would allow. The road stretched long and windy. I was instructed by the woman to follow the path to lie. Reached a tiny hut, hard to miss. Soon enough, I made it to the tiny hut in the middle of the cemetery. It was dimly lit, with a janky roof. Inside, a security guard popped his head up from the desk. Looked like he must have nodded off for a few hours. I parked my car. He met me outside as I exited my car. The evening air was getting crisp. I felt goosebumps along my arms and neck. I was greeted by the middle-aged guard. He looked tired, heavy bags on both eyes. We exchanged brief greeting, while he hastily made his way to his car.
Wait, you're not new, are you?
Yes, today's my first night.
Alright, take this.
He handed me a laminated piece of paper from within his backpack. As I took it, I noticed his hand seemed a little shaky. Are you okay, man? Again he looked at me, alert, almost.
Just read that guy and stick by them. We can't afford to lose another one.
Lost another one.
Like I said, guy, follow the rules and stay safe out here.
His tires peeling off, rustling up the dirt from the road. I stood there pretty weirded out, grabbed my backpack and laminated paper and headed inside the hut. The hut was lit by a single low-hanging lamp. I nearly smacked my head on it. There was a rickety-looking stool, an old wooden desk, where an even older ham radio sat next to an AC tray. I placed my bag on the table and got as comfortable as I could. It was sitting there at that moment when I noticed how quiet it was. Well, fears trees and wildlife. I had figured there'd be more wildlife out here, but nothing, quiet, not even a cricket. Quiet and cold, yet not a single light I could see out in the distance. The hut was smack in the middle of this private circular cemetery. The owner lived up on the hill up the road. What I found out was in the winter, when the trees are dead, and you could see further through them, you can see the mansion the owner lives in, and if you are lucky, you can watch him stare down at the cemetery. Well, it was not winter. I was surrounded by darkness. The hut barely lit up the area around me, a few feet in each direction of the hut was an unmarked grave, old-looking, all bent out of shape. While I scanned my limited horizon, I nearly jumped out of my skin when the ham radio began to go off. Static creaked. The life and a faint voice broke through. I fumbled around with the receiver when a woman's voice came through clear. I recognized.
Read the instructions and do not stray from them. If you do not have the paper, lose it. Text me and I will send you a picture of it. Your life may depend on it. Your shift will end in 10 hours, where you will be relieved of your duties then. Good.
Just as quickly as she came through, her end clicked out. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from an unknown number. 2 months' pay in advance has been wired to your bank account. My phone buzzed again. An email from my bank for a recent deposit. I stared wide eyes at the large deposit I had just gotten. This job had got to be too good to be true. While I ruminated over my phone, my attention was cut short by a rock thrown at the hut's window. My head shot up, nothing but the few graves around me. Weird. Back to my phone. Scrolled those some emails, checked. I couldn't see further out than 10 feet in either direction. My stomach was beginning to get a little uneasy at this point, and the woman's warning was beginning to creep back into my head. Why would my life depend on it? Harder and harder I ruminated over her warning. While I stared out into the cemetery, something caught my attention in my peripherals. Something running, something quick, dashed into the darkness. Quiet. My heart was beginning to race. The darkness was playing tricks on me. Shakily I held the paper up. It was a badly wrinkled and browning. It was headed with the cemetery address, which I will not.
1. Do not investigate any ringing bells, no matter how close they sound. They are 2. If Bugs start landing on the hut's glass window. Burn the candles that are under the desk till your shifts end. 3. If pebbles are thrown at the hut's glass, turn the light off and hide under the desk till the laughing stops. 4. If gravestones began to appear and reappear, go outside and pour oil over them, oil located under the desk. 5. If a gravedigger comes, do not approach him, let him come to the window. He will stare at you for a few hours, but will leave after. Do not go outside while he is here. 6. Do not venture out past the grave, angel grave under any circumstance. 7. Do not answer anyone talking from the ham radio, except for the initial call when you came in. 8. Lock the hut after each time you step outside. 9. Do not leave for the bathroom for more than 10 minutes a time, if you have to. Come back, wait, then go back. 10. If at any point you return to the hut and see someone else sitting in the hut, get in your car and back. 10. If at any point you return to the
I placed the paper down, still trying to process everything that was happening. Who wrote this? Why do I need to follow them? Is this some kind of joke? While I ruminated over my endless thoughts, something clanked against the glass window. Wait a second, I thought. I just read this. If pebbles are found at the hut's glass, turn the light off and hide under the desk till the laughing stops. L dived for the light switch, clicked it off and raced under the desk. The hut was cold. I was starting to see my breath now. I zipped my hoodie up and tried to keep my heart from beating out of my chest. Again a pebble hit the glass. Again and again, each time my stomach stinking. Then came the laughing, a faint. Louder and louder the girl's laugh grew till I thought it was in my head. The pebbles came harder. The girl's laugh continued for about 30 minutes. Well, it went quiet. I peeked my head from under the desk. It was still. A light fog was hovering among the field, with the moon's glow illuminating the area. I saw nothing. Quietness. I waited in the darkness of the hut for the remainder of the night. The sun began to come up and my nerves calmed a bit. In the morning I was able to see more out into the vast cemetery. Soon the car from the fort pulled up. The man I met when I started got out and asked for the paper. Before I could say anything, he looked up, groggy eye, and said, "You're lucky you don't have the morning rules." He walked away, nodded, and closed himself into the hut. That was a long drive home, lots to think about. I climbed into bed and desperately tried to sleep.